during this past Christmas season, a number of people asked me if it had been difficult living through Christmas without my mom. So she died in a year ago, October. And it was an interesting question for me. I sort of pondered it, thought about it, and I'd say on the one hand, of course, yes, I certainly miss her, especially during that kind of time, family-oriented time. But what really, on the emotional level, what I really specifically missed was all the traditions that I associated with Christmas at her house. And I may have mentioned this in the previous homily, I don't know, but we had a custom, a tradition, my sister and I. So we would go early in December, we'd pick a date, and we would go get mom a tree. She'd go with us, she'd pick out her tree. We'd bring it home, decorate the tree, set it up, have lunch, and then decorate the rest of the house for Christmas. And that would be, again, that was kind of my Christmas. I don't set up anything in the rectory. That was my Christmas. Now, I don't want to sound like I don't miss my mom, but the feelings around her death are such that I don't feel like I've lost my mother. She's died, certainly, as we all will, and I don't have that sensory experience anymore, but my faith tells me very much that she's present, alive, and that I will get her back, so to speak. It's only been, it's only a matter of time. And we're going to be closer than we ever could be in this life. Something to look forward to, actually. But the celebration of Christmas, the celebration, that whole experience, my Christmas, so to speak, in that particular house is different. So our family moved to that house in Newport Hills, 1974. I was 12 years old, and that's been my home ever since. My three siblings. I have an older sister, two younger brothers. So they grow up, they get married, they move out, they have their own household, they establish their own homes. With me, it's a little different being a priest. So you don't have, intentionally, really, you don't have a home, so to speak. You're itinerant. You live in Tacoma, and Port Angeles, and Kirkland, and Mercer Island, etc. That's the way it goes. You're intentionally mobile. But I always had that house on 68th Street, right? Well, day off, holidays, that's where I would go. That's where my Christmas was celebrated. When mom died, we sold the house. I tell you, the time is running out. From now on, let those having wives act as not having them, those weeping as not weeping, those rejoicing as not rejoicing, those buying as not owning, those using the world as not using it fully, for the world in its present form is passing away. So that was, again, our second reading from 1 Corinthians 7, 29, 31, I think. So Paul there is not saying, don't get married or you're not going to weep or rejoice or buy anything. But he means that we should live this life with detachment. That's like a specialty word, spirituality word. That our hearts need to be detached from everything like that. That is, those things, the things of this world can't get stuck to our heart, so to speak. It doesn't mean that we don't love and enjoy them, but they can't get stuck there because they're not going to last. So those things are all passing away. And they can't be the goal and the purpose of life. Even when we're enjoying the things of the world legitimately, we have to remember they're short-lived. They're finite. I mean, even marriage, that's one of the reasons Paul puts marriage in there. Jesus says in heaven, that relationship is not the same. The marriage itself is not there. That even the people we love most, we can't treat them as putting them in the place of God. That means idols. We can't do that. There's a Catholic philosopher, I think he may be retired, he was at Boston College, I think. His name's Peter Kreeft. And he said, one of the ways to remember the great commandment. So Jesus asked, what's the greatest commandment? Well, you'll love the Lord your God with all your heart, strength, soul, mind. He said, if you want to understand that commandment, then we must, say, use things, love people, worship God. Don't use God, love things, and worship people. Again, we can get, that's basically what he said there is just a restating of what Paul's saying. Here, look at the gospel today. We have Jesus is going along the Sea of Galilee. They're on the shore. And he comes to these two sets of brothers, Simon and Andrew, and then James and John. And he tells them, follow me. And they do it. They do it immediately. They leave their boats. They drop their nets. They leave their family. So here, James and John, their father Zebedee's there in the boat. The hired men are there. This is the career. This is the business. And James and John have just left. And that might seem, well, that's pretty harsh, or is that really the right thing to do? And yet, if God is number one, we have to recognize that. And we have to love him with all our hearts and follow him, give him first place. And only then will these other things, family, career, etc., find their right order. And we'll only then really be able to enjoy them and be satisfied with them fully. You know, I think of my lost childhood home and the Christmas experiences I had there. I was reminded of this seemingly hard truth. So looking at those readings, preparing for this weekend's homilies, what stuck out of me was that experience of people coming after me and asking me about Christmas. And I said, you know what? That's something I see has passed away. The decorating, the special ornaments we had, they go in certain places on the trees. The wreaths have to go right there. Put up the outdoor lights. We have certain things we eat for lunch. We have to vacuum up the needles. All those things that were part of the tradition, anchors of my emotional life. After all, I had been living and celebrating Christmas for decades in that house, since I was 12. It's gone. It's gone. What about you? So, looking at where you place your hopes and dreams, what or whom are you really living for first and foremost? Careers, accomplishments, titles, pleasures, relationships, friendships, experiences, all may be good in themselves, so that's not knocking those. But to really ask, are you deep down living for what's going to pass away? Soon. So again, Paul says soon. Well, soon includes everything. When I think, these are really long-range things. They're going to be around for a long time. Decades, maybe. It's not as long as eternity. It's not going to last. The only things that last aren't actually things. The only thing that lasts are persons and their relationships, including the three persons of the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's what lasts. That's the eternal. And again, the first two commandments are love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Again, just what Paul's saying in a different way. And those commandments are just another way of saying that let's live for what lasts. And those things that will last forever, is that where our vision in life are directed? We can know that that's the case if our hearts are not restless. Think of the things that can go up. Think friendships, beautiful friendships, but they disappear. I go to the school, I graduate. I love this town, I move. I love this person, the person dies. I love this job. The business goes out of business. That's the world. And it's passing away. A couple of months ago, one of my brothers drove by our former house. The new owners were gutting the interior. They're doing a huge remodel. And you could tell that because all the refuse from the remodel was in the driveway. There's a pile of junk before they hadn't hauled it away yet. And it just struck me. That place is gone. And it's lost forever. It's over, and that's okay. It's not a tragedy. It can be sad. Again, there can be feelings there, but it's not a tragedy. They pass away. And all those memories, what's going to last, what's not going to last is what's in the driveway, the house. But what will last are the experiences and the deepening relationship that happened in that house with a mother who's going to continue for eternity. So what's his value there will endure forever. What's passing, it's already gone.